There's a common saying in Abuja, everywhere is just 10 minutes away. Well, this saying is not true these days. Traffic is getting worse every day in Abuja, especially in the suburbs. You may not realize this, but you're adjusting to it. You get ready for the mad traffic in the mornings and mentally prepare for the worst traffic on the way home. This week on Dateline Abuja, we examine the problem of heavy traffic in the FCT and the infrastructure needed to alleviate the problem. I mean, the FCT is basically a construction site. When will the construction be done? I digress. That's coming up in our feature story. This week, we speak with the Director General of the Directorate for Road Traffic Services, Mr. Wadata Bodinga. He's worried about the impact this heavy traffic will have on the already existing infrastructure and wants more regulations in public transport. And as we do every week, we give you our Abuja wrap. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Magwa. The search for greener pastures comes with a price, and those perceived greener pastures must create the necessary infrastructure for population growth. That is the challenge with the nation's capital. A massive influx of people and the infrastructure is breaking down. Now, all hope is not lost, but the FCT administration must take decisive action now, complete these ongoing projects, and kick off the new transport management system. Come up with alternatives to reduce the cars on the road. That's what other major cities do. How can they do this? We'll get to that shortly. First, let's take a look at the major happenings in Nigeria's seat of power.
President Buhari has been busy at the 76th United Nations General Assembly. Aside from participating in the opening session of the Assembly, the President met with the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, President Evariste Ndayishimiye of Burundi, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, as well as the Queen of the Netherlands, Her Majesty Maxima Zorregieta, who is also the United Nations Secretary General's advocate for inclusive finance for development. And on Friday, September the 24th, the President addressed the Assembly.
Our commitment to tackle and reverse the severe trend of biodiversity loss remains unwavering, as anchored on the following. A. Regional and inter-regional cooperation, which we are currently championing. B. Expansion of protected areas, including the establishment of 10 new national parks across the country, as well as creation of marine protected areas pursuant to the 30 by 30 agenda of the Convention on Biodiversity.
While the President is away in New York, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, was holding several meetings as well. Among those he met is the President-elect of Sao Tome and Principe, Mr. Carlos Manuel Villanova, who was on a courtesy visit to Nigeria. President Osinbajo also met with members of the organized private sector. First, he met with the securities market company, the FMDQ Group. Then he met with members of the Independent Petroleum Producers Group. The Vice President presided over the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting, where the Council approved 1.04 billion naira for contract variation in health and water resources ministries.
Bagwai Water Dam Irrigation Project in Bagwai, in Bagwai local government area of Kano State, actually was commenced. The initial contract was actually awarded in year 2005. The Honorable Minister for Water Resources presented a memo to Council today seeking Council's approval for the revised estimate total cost and extension of the contract of the consultants supervising the project from an initial sum of 98 million naira to 203 million naira. The Honorable Minister of Health also presented a memo seeking for an upward review for the emergency supply, installation and maintenance of the 38 oxygen plants all over the country. They presented a memo for augmentation in the sum of 836 million naira, and this was also approved today.
The Vice President also attended the Kaduna Economic and Investment Summit, known as CADInvest 6.0 in Kaduna State. As a special guest of honor, Professor Shimbaja calls on Nigerian youths to fill the global gap of tech talents. Over at the National Assembly, President Buhari wants federal lawmakers to amend the recently signed Petroleum Industry Act. He's asking for an amendment to the administrative structure of both the Commission and Authority to make provision for better geographic representation on the boards. The President also approved new members into the board of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, as well as the board members of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority.
If this amendment is approved, it will now increase the number of non-executive members from 2 to 6, that is, one person from each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. The proposed amendment will increase the membership of the board from 9 to 13 members, that is representing 44% expansion of the board size. This composition will strengthen the institutions and guarantee national spread and also achieve the expected policy contributions.
The Senate has passed the 2022-2024 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework (MTEF) and Fiscal Strategy Paper (FSP), retaining all the assumptions and projections proposed by President Muhammadu Buhari. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Solomon Olamilekan, presented the report of the Senate Joint Committee.
The committee recommends that the daily crude oil production of 1.88, 2.23, and 2.27 for 2022, 2023, 2024 respectively be approved in view of the average of 1.93 above the past 3 years and the fact that very conservative oil output benchmark has been adopted for the medium term in order to ensure a greater budget realism. 2. The bench oil mark of $57 per barrel should be approved because of the clear evidence of wider consultation with key stakeholders and the age-long fiscal strategy of addressing the oil price shock by the adoption of higher than forecast oil prices benchmark for fiscal projection and medium term. 3. The exchange rate of $410.15 proposed by the executive for the 2022-2024 be approved. 4. The GDP projected rate of 4.20 be approved. 5. The projected inflation rate of 13% also be approved. The Joint Committee also observed that there were frivolous deduction, diversion of funds, and under-reporting of revenue of MDAs, hiding under the disguise of the Establishing Act. The Joint Committee accordingly observed that the GMD of NNPC at the interactive session that the nation level of consumption of PMS is not reflecting the importation due to diversion, round-tripping, and smuggling across the borders.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, has revealed that the federal government plans to review domestic laws to ensure collections through digital platforms. He said this at the opening of the 17th Annual General Assembly meeting of the West Africa Taxation Forum.
Welcome back. The major entry points into Abuja are plagued with traffic gridlocks every day. That's because, unlike Lagos, every government office is in the city center, and that extends to private businesses as well. Everyone comes into the city center to work, and more than half of Abuja's residents live in the suburbs. So gridlocks in the mornings and gridlocks in the evenings on these major entry points, and these are just a fact of our life here. Our feature story looks at the sheer scale of the traffic problem in the FCT and what possible remedies can be adopted. Abuja's city center is renowned for its good road network, as motorists travel with ease within the city. The story is, however, very different for residents in some of the satellite towns. From the Yanya Maraba axis to the Gwarimpa Kubwa axis and the Lugbe Airport Road access point, the traffic story is the same. Motorists and other road users spend hours in the traffic gridlock.
The major thing that government need to do, I think they need to expand this road. That would ease the hold up of this place.
Imagine people going to work, spending 2 hours on the road. So for me, the National Association of Road Transport Owners, National Union of Road Transport Workers, the Federal Road Safety, the VI have to come into synergy and find a way to make sure that even if it has to do with reorientation of road users, private and public road users, then we have to go into that such holistic method to get things right.
A higher population of Abuja residents live in the satellite towns, and this explains the heavy traffic leading into the city center every morning and exiting the city every evening, especially on workdays. This traffic situation is gradually gaining notoriety within the city center, and it's mostly not within the rush hours.
There's no provision for parking space. That is why everybody pick along the road. Do you understand? And passenger themselves, they doesn't go to park. They prepare roadside than inside park. So they find it very difficult. So what can we do? We don't have anything doing else than the driving. So we have to pick them in the road. Everywhere there we go. That's what causes the traffic, I think.
The FCT Minister Malam Mohammed Bello wants traffic managers within the nation's capital to address traffic congestion within the metropolis as Abuja continues to witness road accidents. According to the FCT sector of the Federal Road Safety Corps, 994 road accidents were recorded in 2020. Over 1,200 vehicles were involved in accidents, which involved over 4,500 persons. Over 200 deaths were recorded in these accidents, while over 1,700 people sustained various degrees of injuries. Over 2,600 persons survived the crashes. The FCT listed the major causes of accidents in the FCT as speed limit violation, overloading, tire bursting while driving, dangerous overtaking, and lack of concentration by motorists. The FCT believes more can be done to address the traffic congestion in the nation's capital.
Look at the rush hour in the morning, rush hour in the evening, and you discover that every other businesses, government businesses, private businesses, one-man businesses, they head from Kubwa to town, from Nyanyakaru to town, from the airport road to town, and then when work is over, everybody moves out. So if we do not find a way to spread business activity, maybe government considering moving some government offices to satellite towns, getting the satellite towns properly developed with every facilities, shopping malls, schools, whatever it is that you need, that will be an attraction. And then link up these satellite towns with the city center with light rails that will ensure that the attraction to drive your car does not arise.
The Abuja light rail system is envisaged as a solution to the gridlock by the FCT administration. However, the project, which has commenced some form of operation, is still not addressing the situation because it has limited access into the city center. At the moment, a 42.5-kilometer rail line can only commute from the Central Business District to the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport on a 28-kilometer stretch. The FCT administration is also planning to reintroduce the bus rapid transit system to help tackle the chaotic state of transportation in the territory and its environs. The Abuja BRT project, which is planned to run over a 32.2-kilometer distance, will run from Eagle Square in the Central Business District to Altaba Alefi in Nasarawa State as a component of the Abuja Urban Mass Transit System. Nevertheless, no date has been set for the commencement of the project. My guest on the program is Mr. Wadata Bodinga, the Director General of the Directorate for Road Traffic Services. His office regulates traffic and public transportation in the FCT. He agrees it's time to think outside the box and has plans that he says will handle Abuja's traffic and public transportation problem before the end of this year. He is joining the call for rails and bus rapid transit systems to begin immediately in the nation's capital. Welcome to Dateline, Mr. Bodinga.
Thank you so very much.
So this is the Directorate of Road Traffic Services.
Yeah.
And you're the
correct.
Director General. How old has this office been in existence? How long has this office been in existence?
This office has been in existence from the time the Federal Capital Territory, that is Abuja Ministry, was created. It started as a division and rise to a directorate in 2003. And since then, it has always been referred to Directorate of Road Traffic Services, and the regulation was formulated in 2005 to give it that status.
So how long have you been Director General here?
Well, I've been here as acting capacity sometimes 2016, and then later I was confirmed in 2018, and since then I have been here.
So you basically look at road traffic in the FCT.
Yeah.
You've been at this job for a while. Has there been a mutation? Has there been a change? Because from the standpoint of a citizen, it feels like there has been a change. Like there's more traffic now. It used to be the outskirts, but now within the city center, and then some particular hot points. Tell me what changes you've noticed in the in traffic in the FCT.
Yeah, as you are aware that Abuja is actually the fastest growing city. And this development is not only limited to just human traffic, including vehicular traffic. People are trooping into Abuja for greener pasture, and you can see it. It's evident everywhere. And from the characteristics of the Abuja traffic, you can see that most of the traffic are actually coming into the city and then going out, because it's a two-way traffic in the city. People are coming in the morning, and in the evening they are going out. That is very different to what is happening, for example, in Lagos, where the traffic revolves around the city almost.
So housing has a role to play here, because most people live outside of the city center in Abuja, as opposed to Lagos, where everyone kind of stays in the city center.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're saying that's part of what's
that is part of
our own special rhythm of traffic.
Special demography of traffic, yeah, certainly. And that has come with a lot of challenges, because when you have a traffic moving in one direction at the same time, except that we are lucky in the FCT that we have a lot of infrastructure. In cities, if to our other states, that would have been impossible, because the volume of the traffic and the capacity of the road carriage would have been impossible for people to access the city. But if you look at the Kubwa, as well as the Lubi Axis Road, you will see that the road capacity is almost 10 length put together. That's supposed to be there. So that means that the road has the capacity to carry the vehicular movement as they are coming in. But however, as they come into the city, the road continue to compress. And because of that, definitely you sometimes experience a little snail movement. Definitely is not hardly in the city you will see hold off, like what is happening in other mega cities. But you sometimes have a snail movement which is not literally called hold off. And most of those areas, we earmark them, and you always see our men are there trying to control the traffic and ensure that people reach their destination not only safely but also timely.
So let's talk a bit about some of those hot points.
Yeah.
Recently,
yes,
the Nyanya axis was in the news. People had to sleep in town on that day because the holdup, I think a trailer had fallen on.
Yeah, a tanker.
A tanker had fallen.
Yeah.
And of course, it's raised a lot of questions about the access road into that part of the FCT. People are calling for the Apokarashi road to be fixed. You know, they're saying it has to be done immediately. We cannot continue like this. In fact, that particular Nyanya axis, many people who come to work from Nyanya try to get back to Nyanya before 4 o'clock because they know that if they're in that hold up, you're going to be stuck there for a long time. what's being done about that situation? And why is it so bad there?
Yeah, like what I told you, if you look at, this is simple mathematics. If you look at the road that is connecting, for example, Zuba, Kubwa road coming down, and you talk about the one that is coming from Gwagwalada axis down to the city, you can see the road capacity with that of Yanyan is very different. From our counts, taking away those indices, even the movement of people coming into the city is almost half of the people are actually coming from that axis. So confile with the fact that the road capacity is not that big.
You said that twice. When you say road capacity, what do you mean?
I mean the width.
So there's not enough lanes?
It does it. But
how many lanes do you think would be sufficient?
Definitely should be like that of Kubwa.
So
and
10.
Yeah, and they are doing, you can see that work is in progress. But because of, construction usually take time, and these issues we have to continue to manage them together with other agencies. And I will tell you that truly, except the other incident that happened that day, the movement even along Yanyan Road has really subsidized from what we used to know. Because, in the past, the holdup used to escalate up to Power House Junction. From that Power House Junction off to, but with the opening of this Goodluck Jonathan by the Minister of FCT, all those issues to a certain extent has reduced. So let's come back to the issue of what happened in Yanya. That can normally happen in any road, because once you have a traffic standstill of 5 minutes, then what that will cause is about traffic gridlock of about 3 to 4 hours. So you can imagine when you have a gridlock, a whole tanker blocking the road for about an hour or 2, then you know what that means. And that is unfortunately the situation. Before we move in there to remove the truck, it is already, the traffic has already built up, and that is what has caused the problem. And you remember one thing again, the impatience too. Some people decided to start taking one way and block the people that are coming. And before you know, it's a big problem. So our personnel have to even leave the other end and come back to Abuja Barrack and start sending these people that have done one way. That time there is no need to arrest anybody. It's just to, how do we find a way? And our personnel left that place around 4:30 a.m. and come back, just 30 minutes. They just go to take their baths and come back. Because by 5 a.m., they are already back. But by the special grace of God in the morning, everything has subsidized. Because people thought that if the relevant traffic agencies have not been there to actually do their job diligently, what has happened that day, even the hold-up was escalated up to next day. But because our people are very diligent, they were there, and that thing was abated.
All right. Well, Mr. Bodinga, you have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much for being on Dateline.
Thank you so very much, and thank you for having me.
Thanks to Mr. Bodinga and everyone who spoke to us this week on Dateline Abuja, especially those who complained about the recent traffic issues commuters faced at the Nyanya axis. The FCT minister has promised that the alternative Apokarshi road will be completed very soon, so there's hope. But we have to mount pressure on the government, or we will be having this same conversation next year. We end as we began. The search for greener pastures comes with a price, and those perceived greener pastures must create the necessary infrastructure for population growth. It is the right thing to do. That is the challenge with the nation's capital. A massive influx of people, and the infrastructure is breaking down. Now, all hope is not lost, but the FCT administration must take decisive action now. That's our show this week. Remember to let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Magwa. See you next time.